Dr. Coomaraswamy, when I was having a conversation with one of the main construction suppliers, what he said was the sector is still slow because people are keeping one foot on this side and thinking another land in somewhere else. So you are not doing the real investment here because they all still have doubts about the economic stability, whether it's stable, what we need to do, whether are we in the right path. So could you shed some light for any market to prosper, including the real estate and the property market? Is our economy stable? And what is the future would look like?
Thank the organizers for inviting me to be part of this impressive show. The answer I would give you is significant progress has been made in stabilizing the economy. I think all of you know that, from where it was 2.5 years ago in terms of all the indicators, the macro indicators, growth, inflation, the external reserves, whatever indicator you look at, things have improved and the economy has stabilized. But the question we need to ask is, how far have we progressed in making sure we've got away from these repeating cycles of macro stress? Because we've stabilized before. We've had 17 IMF programs, completed 11 or 12 of them. On each of them, we actually managed to stabilize the economy. But then we don't do the structural reform to have sustained growth, right? So two questions. One is, have we created conditions where it becomes much less likely that we will have macroeconomic stress? And the answer is yes. We have a new paradigm of macroeconomic management because of two bits of legislation. One, the Public Finance Management Act, and two, the Central Bank Act. Historically, all these kind of repeating cycles of when I say macroeconomic stress, I mean high inflation, currency depreciation, taxes being changed. This happens again and again. So what I'm now saying is, because of these two bits of legislation, the prospects of that being repeated are much, much less. So why am I saying that? One is the underlying cause of this macro stress most of the time is the government's budgetary operations. The government runs unsustainable large budget deficits. That pumps too much aggregate demand into the system, pushes up prices, and some of that aggregate demand goes into imports, and we run into a balance of payments crisis. And that problem is amplified by the central bank having fiscal forbearance in monetary policy. What does that mean? The central bank prints money for the government. The central bank artificially reduces interest rates so that the government can borrow cheaply. So all this again amplifies the excess aggregate demand in the system, right? Interest rates come down, people take more credit, more demand, and no matching increase in supplies. Again, pressure on prices, pressure on the balance of payments. So what I'm saying is the budget is an underlying problem. The central bank activity then makes things worse. Now, that now by law cannot happen, because what the Public Finance Management Act has done is that it has tightened the fiscal rules. We've had a fiscal rule before, but in the interest of time, I won't go into all that history. But right now, there are clear fiscal rules. The revenue is 15% of GDP. There has to be a primary surplus meaning total revenue minus expenditure excluding interest payments must have a surplus of 2.3%. There is also a cap on primary expenditure, that is expenditure minus interest payments must be 13%. So there are these tight rules. So clear fiscal rules. In the past we had a fiscal rules, but it was sort of 10 years down the line, and every time we got close to it, the parliament changed the rule. Now every year you have the fit into these rules on the fiscal side. So the underlying problem that has been there in the country's macroeconomic management has been taken out. And equally, the fiscal forbearance, as I said, in monetary policy has now been also eliminated. The central bank cannot lend to the government. There is no deficit financing the central bank can do. The central bank cannot by law print money. to help the government. And on top of that, there is a I won't go into the detail or the technical detail, but there is a framework for monetary policy called flexible inflation targeting. The finance minister sets the inflation target, then the central bank has instrument autonomy to hit that target. So you don't artificially bring down interest rate just to boost growth, just because the government is going into an election. All that stuff you can't do anymore. So clear rules, not only clear frameworks, rules, and they're embedded in the law. So this is a completely new paradigm for macroeconomic management in this country. So the past experience of constantly having interest rates going up, exchange rate depreciating, taxes having to be changed, all that which were characteristic of our macroeconomic management should be a thing of the past. So interest rates should be more stable, exchange rate should be more stable, and the tax structure should be more stable, and it should be easier for you all to do business in this environment.